And we are back.
Peaches and cream.
The funny thing is, we actually just restarted it because we messed up. There was just a little snafu, and I didn't know Chase was going to come back with a second peaches and cream. So
Was it better the second time or better the first time?
it's always better the second time.
Nice. It's like a
Nice.
joke that you have to explain. It makes it
No,
way funnier.
well, I mean, it's funny you say that. At the company Christmas party this past week, that's what I had to do with a lot of my jokes. And I educated them on the fact that if you do have to explain your jokes, then that gives you a chance to make it more memorable and more funny. So they were lucky to be there for that. But to catch you guys up a little bit, or at least in the last 3 minutes of our life, Chase had just made a comment about the Cowboys actually winning. And I was going to say to Chase, it's very funny that the Cowboys won because I was talking to, I'm not a Cowboys fan. It doesn't bother me if they lose. So they said it's great that the Cowboys, well, the only benefit we can get if the Cowboys keep losing is we're going to get a really good draft pick. But now they're going to win like the next 3 games and get like a super mediocre draft pick.
That's the exact point that I'm at too, because it's like we before we won the 2 games in a row from the past 2 games, we were guaranteed, or not guaranteed, but at least in line for a top 10 draft pick. And now that we have started winning, I think we're close to like middle of the road now. So we hurt our draft stock. Not saying players that are outside the top 10 aren't good players, but the individuals we would want to go for are inside the top 10. So it's
Yeah.
just funny that now there's 5 games left. There's a good possibility we could actually win the majority of them. But we're at a point too that we would need to win out, I think, to fully guarantee ourselves a spot, maybe in the playoffs. So it's like, what good is it going to do out of those 5 games if you win three, say four? You're not going to fully guarantee yourself a spot in the playoffs, and you're just hurting yourself in the draft order. So at what point do you kind of take a step back and be like, okay, what do we do?
You want to hear something crazy?
Hmm.
So my mom's friend she works with at Great Creek Winery down in Fredericksburg. Shout out, mom. If you guys ever go there, it's a great winery to go to. I can get you a free wine tasting. Please reach out. Numbers in the bio. Not really, but
Throw the sponsorship dollars our way first.
sponsorship. Yeah, that would
Sponsor.
be nice. If Great Creek wants to sponsor this podcast, we will take whatever money you'll throw at it.
We should go
But
ask him sometime.
I actually will. Kay, a lady she works with, her husband played professional football. I forget who he played for, but he played for about 6 years. And then he went from professional football to the AFL when it was still a thing. And he's actually, I think he's the only player or one of the only AFL Hall of Fame. So I was talking to my mom's husband, my stepdad, and he had said that this guy told him that football is definitely rigged. And I know your dad played professional football, and if we were to ask your dad, he'd be like, "No, it's just hard-nosed football. We were out there trying to
At
win."
least what it maybe used to be. I don't know. I don't
But
know.
he said that the kicking ball, and now this is going to be a little outlandish, but this is what he said, and it's unfortunate that he actually has the ability to say this or comment on it more than we do because he was actually in the pros. Maybe he heard some conjecture or whatnot, but he said that the kicking ball has magnets in it that respond to the poles of the field goals, and they can turn those things on and off in terms of like pushing them or pulling them in one direction. But, and listen, I know, listen, it sounds crazy, but the guy is adamant about it. He is like dead serious that like that's a real thing. And I'm just saying, he was in the
Hmm.
pros. We weren't in the pros. Maybe he walked in on the wrong room at the wrong time. I don't know. But if you think that anything that has a lot of money into it or that has a lot of money in it is not at one point trying to be rigged, then you're not understanding the American culture.
Oh, and I don't discredit that in some form or fashion it could be rigged, especially when betting has gotten so massive as of late.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
you have Joe Schmoes that are hopping on DraftKings, hitting parlays and all that stuff now. So it's become like an everyday sort of normal thing. Whenever there's a game on, it's like heavy betting.
Yeah.
But all that to say, NFL being rigged, you've heard of the NFL script, how it's like,
Mhm.
oh, it's in the script or it's not in the script, therefore it will or will not happen. That this year, especially more than ever, I feel like something like that would be incredibly evident because looking at the Kansas City Chiefs, they are, I forgot what they are. I mean, they've only lost one game and we're, over halfway through the season, right? But the majority of the games they've played, I think they've only won by a handful of points. So it's been close. And on those quote unquote game winning drives or, narrowing down to the end of the game, there have been some pivotal calls that the refs have made that have all benefited literally almost a 100% success rate, the Kansas City Chiefs, to allow them to go win the game. Stuff that literally you can look at their offensive line, they are holding defensive linemen, linebackers, and Pat Mahomes is just sitting back there dancing around looking for an open receiver to the point to where refs, it is the most obvious holding call that you could ever think of and
They're
see.
like
And refs are literally
looking
looking the
everywhere.
other way. Legitimate. I'm not even kidding. Go look up on YouTube some highlights of the Kansas City Chiefs, the refs being Kansas City fans.
No,
Because
so
it is disgustingly evident.
there's this, I forget what account it is. I'll send it to you next time I see it. Actually, I think I have sent it to you in our DMs. We send like 1,000 direct messages a day that have just stupid, funny videos. And one of them is a guy commenting on this exact situation. He's like, "Uh-oh, there's Mahomo with the pass, and he completes it, and the ref calls a shot on Mahomo. And guess what? That ref has to sacrifice his firstborn child now because he went against Mahomo." It's like,
Yeah, dude.
that's like the
It's
ref runs back out and he's like, "I take the call back. It was not on him."
yep. Dude, we joke about it, but that is literally how it's kind of played out.
Well, I
Stuff
mean,
that is
even
just
in the
blatant.
parodies, I'm sorry, go on.
No, I was just saying stuff that is so blatant. Like you don't have to be a professional referee to remotely see that that would or wouldn't be a penalty,
Yeah,
depending on if it goes for Kansas City or not. Like it
yeah.
is that stuff is what makes me question heavily. But I'm not discrediting, that dude who played in the NFL saying there's magnets in the ball. I have no idea. I've never played, but I would have a harder time in a way believing that than believing, holding calls depending on, you know, how much it's favored the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know if there's magnets in the ball as well. I thought the exact same thing anyone thought when you hear that. Like, okay, yeah, there's
Yeah.
magnets in the ball. But
What position did he play? Do you know?
he played, I think he was a defensive lineman of sorts, or I could be
But he,
wrong, but I can get you the team he played for and what he actually played. But
I'd be curious because, like, again, not discrediting, but I'd be curious how he found out or knew that there were supposed magnets in the ball and that they could flip on a switch for the field goal or the posts and determine whether it's going to be good or bad or steer it in one direction versus the other as a
listen,
defensive
here's
lineman.
another thing. Accolades do not equal anything else besides accolades. There are conspiracy theorists that are professional football players that will believe
Oh yeah, I
anything.
mean you can
Yeah,
be a conspiracy theorist no matter what.
but it's just like people look at like, oh, you were a professional football player, and they immediately like put in line with that your intellectual abilities, your ability to decipher things. Like they kind of
Yep.
put you on a pedestal for no reason with a lot of other things versus just the fact that you play a professional sport. Like Travis Kelsey, that dude is good at
Oh,
nothing besides being in a camera and being a tight end. That's the
you
only thing
mean
he's
no,
good
no,
at.
no, 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 no. You mean that's Taylor Swift's boyfriend?
Yeah, he's actually
That's Taylor
lost his
Swift's boyfriend
namesake.
who just happens to play football.
You know the craziest thing, man, is like I just can't stand how like you look at Travis Kelsey and you're like, that guy is definitely like an all-American dude. But I guarantee if you ask him anything about any view
Yeah.
on camera, that dude would be like the biggest liberal in the world. Not because
Oh
I
yeah.
don't believe he really believes it, but because he just has to say it if you're dating Taylor Swift. You can't
Yeah.
risk the public image of Taylor Swift. You can't have your own opinion if you're dating Taylor Swift. Like you said, you are Taylor Swift's boyfriend at that point. You are nothing besides that. Whatever you've amounted to is nothing. You are Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
Man, and just on that note, like I didn't not like Travis Kelsey, but I didn't like him before. He was just great player, football player, whatever. But ever since he started dating Taylor Swift and how much she has infected the NFL, and it's just, oh, especially at the peak, how much she influenced everything, how much she was on camera. I'm like, I'm here to watch a football game. I'm not here to look at her sitting in a box, giggling with her friends, having drinks. I'm like, show the game. It's just it has put such a bad taste in my mouth on that front. But I understand, yeah, it's brought a new fans to the league
No,
because they want to
that's
watch.
wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That is the most annoying thing in the world for people to say. Not you. I know you're not saying that
Oh
because
yeah,
you're going to agree with what I'm about to say. Just like Jake Paul has not brought new fans to boxing. All
correct.
Jake Paul has done and all Taylor Swift have done have brought more money to a certain
That
scene at
correct.
specific times. None of those people outside of when Travis Kelce is playing and Taylor Swift is there are watching the actual game. None of those people that didn't watch boxing before, outside of the times Jake Paul is on TV fighting a grandfather, you know, are ever going to. Did you disappear? Either way, yeah. None of those people are ever going to actually watch the sport outside of those people being on TV. So no, there's not new fans in the sport. Not even a little bit.
Uh, I mean, new viewers, absolutely,
Viewers for
100%.
one game. Viewers for one game. That's not a viewer. There's
Just
new
out of curiosity, keep talking. I'm
yeah.
gonna look up a stat. Hold
Long
on.
story short, there's not new viewers. It's just viewers for one specific instance, and those viewers contribute nothing outside of that instance. They don't re-engage with other teams. They don't look up stats. And I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying to say that they're bringing new fans to a sport. A fan is someone who's a fan of the sport, not a fan of one specific instance in a sport.
Yeah. This stat though would make me question, and I'd be curious if they continued to observe or whatever you want to call it. But ever since Travis Kelsey announced that he's dating Taylor Swift, his jersey sales increased by 400%.
Yes, but that is I don't understand how that would even beg a question because that's just proving what I said. Has any other player's jersey sale on the team increased outside of Travis Kelsey's? Probably not, because it's specifically
Maybe
tied to that
Mahomes, because
instance.
evidently him and or Mahomes' wife and
Again,
Taylor.
you're tying it back to Taylor Swift. You're not tying it to the sport of football, and that's what I'm
No,
saying.
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's bringing new viewers in to whatever you want to call it, whether they're watching the game or not. They're watching Travis Kelsey, absolutely.
Yeah, they're
But they're
watching the
also in
game,
it
not the
because
sport.
of Taylor Swift.
But they're not watching the sport. They're not going to watch any other game that isn't Travis Kelsey, is what
Dude, I
I'm
mean,
saying.
there
You
was an
think that you
individual.
think that people who are watching the sport for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey are going to go watch the Raiders game or going to go watch the
No, I'm
Patriots
not
game?
saying that. I'm saying they're watching football for the Kansas City Chiefs because of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, and the Kansas City Chiefs and those specific games and the people who run football are benefiting off of that. The entirety of football is not
Correct.
benefiting from that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're
I'm
they're not they're
saying
not fans.
individuals that have never watched a game of football in their life are now watching the Kansas City Chiefs because of Taylor Swift, and they are viewers of that team because of her, thus following Travis Kelsey.
Yeah, that's you're just proving my point more.
That's what I was saying this entire time.
Okay, I think we're agreeing. This is how a lot of this ends up happening or ends up going.
We're
We're
really
like,
good at navigating multiple outlets that like we interpret as saying different things, but literally in the last 30 seconds of that conversation, we're like, that's what I meant.
yeah. And man, here's another thing that really grinds my gears. Y'all know what grinds my gears, Cohog. Um, I and this is a parallel topic. It's not like directly related, but it's similar. When celebrities come out and talk about politics,
Oh,
and they're
I
like,
love it.
the world is gonna end if you don't vote this person into office. I'm like, would you shut up? Would you shut up? Literally, you don't live a normal life. This is
Uh,
our conversation. This is for the people who don't have millions of dollars and don't have armed security everywhere they go and don't not worry about one bill and don't have people working their entirety of their finances. These are for normal people. You are not going to be affected if you lose $6 million every year out of your 300 million. Like Eminem, don't tell me what is going to happen with the world because maybe at one point for like 20 years, maybe You lived a normal life, but since then you have been Eminem. You have had so much money that you could barely spend it in a lifetime. So don't come here and tell me what I should think about politics or who I should vote
Yeah.
for, because it does not affect you the way it affects me. Just like Taylor Swift. Do not tell me anything. You are not a
Yep.
normal person. This is not your conversation. You have luckily made it out into the upper echelon where you don't have to worry about these things greatly affecting you. You just act like you feel bad because it affects other people, and that allows you to keep selling tickets. It's shut up. Like, gosh, when any celebrity says anything about politics, I'm just
Oh.
like, gosh, man, I'm trying to keep it cordial on the potty, but the words are right at the tip of my tongue, tip of my teeth. Either way, I hate it when celebrities talk about politics. It's
You want
just,
to know something you'll really, really love
oh God, I'm about to freak out.
after what you just said? It's about Taylor Swift. I just saw a stat. So her big Eras tour that she went on,
Yeah.
she released a book, photo album, whatever from it. It sold like over 800,000 copies in 2 days upon its release. I'm just like, hey, if you're a fan, that's awesome. But I, as a person sitting on the outside, literally do not understand that. I mean, it's a picture book or just a book about the tour. Especially if you went on one of the shows on the tour, it's like you were there, like you took videos, your own personal documentation of being at the concert, and for a fact that many individuals that went to concerts went out and also bought the book. It's it's just crazy. I don't know, like I'm an avid fan of things, but like there's a point to where I realize too much is too much,
I don't
you
worship
know?
anything besides God,
Yeah.
you know, and people literally worship Taylor Swift as if she is like a god. And in all reality, I can't tell you how many clips where she's been singing, and I'm just like, not very good. Not very
No.
good. We,
She's
if
so
if this
overrated.
podcast was any type of popular, we would get canceled just for saying that. And like
Oh, for sure.
I was listening to a podcast recently, Tim Dillon, hilarious podcast, his Patreon episode, and they were talking about a similar thing. And they were saying like when you tell someone not only are you not going to see the Taylor Swift concert, you're not a fan of it. They're like they're affronted. They're like, "Oh my gosh." And one of them
Yeah.
pointed out something really good. Maybe it's a shared thought pool that allows people to all be like, yeah, this isn't that good, but if we all believe it's really good, then we can all get this mutual feeling that there's something that we can take from it. But in reality, when you go, it's not that good, that makes them have to be like overcompensate and be like, yes, it is that good. You can't expose that it's not that good. We all need to believe that it's that good together. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's not though. Listen, there's some bangers. Taylor Swift has come out with some straight bangers, but
Back in the day, in my opinion.
give me $500 million in a recording studio and see if I don't come out with bangers in 30 hours. Like
Yep.
like it's an algorithm. People are very easy to study. If you like one song, you're highly likely to like another song that has a similar beat, a similar lyric pattern. And it's just like it's weird to watch people, and I hate to use the word, it's weird to watch people be sheeple and
Yeah.
just be like projected on so aggressively, and they just take it in as if it's just full reality and there's nothing that could ever challenge that. I
Yep.
just, yeah, it just blows my mind.
Yep. Well, that's I would say we'll put a pin in the Taylor Swift convo and
I want to keep going.
let's do it. She sucks.
But I mean,
But
listen, if I ever met Taylor Swift, I'd shake her hand. I'd be like, hey, you're making trillions of dollars. I'm not. You're doing something right, So mad respect. You started from somewhere. I don't know if it was the bottom, but you're there.
she probably listened to Drake.
Oof.
She started from the bottom, now we hear.
It's probably that song that did it.
That was her motivation, I think. From what I read in her autobiography.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
pretty fantastic. But
great
let's
book.
digress on that one. Tell me, how was your Thanksgiving?
Man, Thanksgiving was nice, man. Thanksgiving was nice. I went down to Comfort, Texas, a very
Was it
small.
comfortable?
It actually is very comfortable.
It's
Yes, that one.
comfortable. That's how you say it,
But
the
isn't that
technical
kind of
term.
like how you would pronounce it in layman's, in like the phonics?
100%.
Comfortable,
Come for a table. Come
comfortable.
for the table.
Come for the table, stay for the chair.
Yes.
That was a good one. Either way, Comfort, Texas, very small town, South Texas in the hill country, about 2 hours outside of Austin if you're going northwest. And it is just a very, I love being down there. The hill country is gorgeous. I'm not going to give too many details away about where my family lives, but they live on a tall hill and you can really oversee the whole hill country. And it's beautiful out there. I was able to bring my new gun that I had bought and finally put some rounds through it, which was super cool. I bought 200 rounds for $160, which I found out was actually a pretty great price per round.
That's very good.
And I was going to just shoot a couple magazines worth 60, you know, man, 90 rounds is kind of what I was shooting for. I don't have any left.
Pun intended. What you were shooting for?
Hey, see what I did there, but I saw you see what I did there. And yeah, so that was really good. We have this friend that my mom met in Italy. Her name is Martina. She's like 27 or 28, and she is literally out of a movie. Martina is, they literally took her out of a storybook. She lives on a farm in Sorrento where she lives with her whole family and harvests all her own food and meat and teaches cooking classes for traditional Italian cooking for 6 months out of the year and then travels the world for the next 6 months. It is definitely just one of those things that is like, you can't really, can you hear that in the background?
No.
Okay, my dog, one of my dogs is barking, and I might have to close one of the doors. But regardless, Martina is like a salt of the earth person. She talks like these, like it's like as
That's
Italian as they
offensive.
get. No, dude, she
That's
is.
that's that's offensive. You need
And
to
either
cut that
way,
out.
she's so like she's go follow her on Instagram. I don't know what her Instagram tag is, but she lives her life to the fullest. She's in like I think she's in the Bahamas right now. She's traveled to like
Wow.
Oh, dude, she literally she stays with my parents for like 3, 4 weeks, and then she leaves from there to go travel either more places in the US or more places throughout the world. She went to like Thailand, she's been to every country in Europe because she's from Italy and it's actually very easy for them to do that. And then she's been to Mexico and different places in South America, Argentina. I mean, dude, she just her life is literally a movie, like more than other people. And it's cool to know her. So she was there and she is responsible for about 50% of the food at Thanksgiving because she helps cook and it's a lot of traditional Italian. And then of course my mom and the other people contributing the turkey, the dressing, corn pudding, all that type of stuff. So that was really, really good. And then yeah, I also got to go hunting once. And for all those out there who don't love hunting, let me give you a little statistic, not statistic, little situation. The only way a deer dies in the wild is by dying of sickness or getting eaten alive. A bullet through the heart is probably one of the most humane ways that you can kill any animal, and it's going to save it from a lot more suffering. And I utilize all the meat, and I don't hunt for fun. I only hunt for the meat. So, got to hunt, get some meat. That was really good. And then we're back. We're back. We're back on the potty. How was
Back
yours?
on the potty. It was good. We had some extended family come in town from my dad's side, my grandparents, aunt, uncle, their kids, my cousins. So it was some good downtime. Day before Thanksgiving, went and shot. Went to a local gun range, put some rounds down range, shot my new weapon as well, which was good. Um, really disappointed after because one of the best local barbecue spots was closed.
Who?
Just like 407 barbecue right next to 407 gun club. But
Day before
really
Thanksgiving. You got to kind of expect it.
no, I'm just like, do you have no idea why we're here?
My family's in town.
We're gonna starve because you're closed. But did that, hung out. Thanksgiving was awesome. Friday went Black Friday shopping only at Bass Pro though. I was very impressed with myself, not to pat myself on my back, but to do it. I
Mm-hmm.
went in, looked at all kinds of really awesome stuff that I could have blown some money on, and I did not spend one dime at
Mm,
Bass Pro, and that was it was a growth moment for me. I'm not gonna lie,
man.
it was impressive. Part of it, me not spending money is because I'm trying to significantly budget. And
Oh, we had
yeah,
a
but oh,
conversation about this earlier. Why are you losing so much money?
I'm not losing. It's an investment. But
We'll
yeah,
give you
no,
guys a little
overall
little sneak
it was
behind
it,
the peek behind the curtain in a second. We keep going. I'm sorry.
no, it was overall good. I mean, good time. Hope you guys had an awesome Thanksgiving as well.
Yeah.
I know we didn't post last week. We're taking some time off just to enjoy. But now we're back, and it feels great to be back. There's just a lot to catch up on. Some crazy space stuff that's been popping up. Man, you gotta not to go on a random tangent, but you need to get X with the amount of UFO sightings that have been populating my feed as of late. It is ridiculous. Some over DFW. I don't know if you heard about that, but multiple pilots reporting over DFW, the whole metroplex, unidentified objects that were appearing on radar but were unmarked. Like there was no flight identification, no nothing, objects that were reported in the sky by pilots. All kinds of just crazy, crazy stuff.
Yeah. Man, I was actually going to send you a video where this was in Arizona, I think, and it was a local news station. And they're like, local authorities have reached out to the government or whoever they reach out to try to get some type of assistance with what is going on here. We're seeing so many different objects that it's an airspace problem and there's a safety issue, and we need help trying to mitigate this. And it's like, it's gotten to the point where it's like, not like, did you see it? Was it there? No,
Mm,
everyone's seeing it. Now we're just like, hey, we all agree it's there. No one can deny that it's there anymore. What are we doing about it? Like, what is it?
yeah.
Do we have any way to defend against it? And the answer is no. You know, the answer is no. And here's the thing, you've heard, don't buy into it. Most of the stuff you hear is a lot of conjecture, and this could be conjecture as well, but we're trying to be as honest as possible. But there's been so many little stories or whatnot that said like 2024 was going to be like the last year before whatever these things are actually reveal themselves. And I don't know, man, with 2025 coming into play, it just seems as if this activity is picking up in a way that is just very, it's almost like they're like, okay, guys, we're about to pull back the curtain.
Yeah. Which, for the other side of individuals that don't necessarily believe in UFOs and aliens, that, thinking of it's a conspiracy theory to use as a cover up or a smokescreen for something else that could be going on, and that's not saying that is and not saying it's not, but it's just interesting that we're in a time to where, with technology and just mass communication and instantaneous communication, that if it does happen or whatever does happen, we're all going to be able to witness it pretty much at the same exact time.
Yeah.
So it's almost like when one person sees it, everyone's going to see that exact thing. So it's not necessarily room for multiple versions or interpretations of, playing that phone or the telephone game. It's like, you have 20 people in a row and you whisper in their ear one thing and see how much that dialogue initially changes as you go through all the people. It's like there's not really going to be room for that because
No.
everyone's got a phone. And if something starts to pop up, multiple people can corroborate the same thing. So it's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, it is going to be. I mean, if it happens, that would be great. I would really, I feel like that would almost be like another 9/11, and not in terms of like
Mm,
the damage, but in terms of like everyone being able to unite behind something for once. And
yeah.
maybe not even unite in like a bad way of like we have to fight this, but more of unite like, okay, we're all on the same page that this is something that we need to pay attention to. And where there's any bit of just everyone being on the same page is something this country could really use right now.
Yeah. I agree. I marked some things that I was gonna actually pull up and show here. Hopefully it pulls up this time. Allow to share screen. Does this work for you? Are you able to see this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Um, one of the articles I bookmarked from a couple weeks ago, there was one sighting over the Yucatan Territory in Canada, I guess from February 2023, and this was shot down by US fighter jets, per this article. Take it with a grain of salt, whatever. But they released photos of what said object looked Look at that thing.
I just don't know what I'm looking at.
It's like, yeah, I don't know, some sort of horseshoe looking.
It looks more like a light.
It looks like the Galactic Federation or the Separatists in Star
No,
Wars Episode 2,
it
the battleships.
it looks like the ships in Prometheus that the architects use.
Mm.
Remember?
I saw the first one, but I haven't seen the consecutive ones, and it's been a
Well, I
very,
mean,
very
like you
long
remember at
time.
the end of the first one where like they accidentally open the ship and it like comes out of the ground and it's such like this big, it's literally that shape. It like it's a circle that doesn't completely combine.
What if they were trying to tell us something by releasing that movie?
I mean, we've talked a lot about how movies can very much be indications of things behind the scenes. We're not going to go that far and say that that's what we think, but very
Yep.
much that could be a real thing. I mean, they could just be like, hey, just want to let you guys know this is kind of how everything started. We figured it out a long time ago and they are coming back.
Yep. So let me read a little excerpt from this real quick before we move on. A photograph of an unidentified flying object. Funny they're calling it a UFO and not a UAP now, or whatever the current name of a UFO is. Was shot down by a US fighter jet over Canadian airspace. Funny that we just kind of hopped over there and it's like, we got this. We'll fly into Canada's airspace and do it. In
Right.
February 2023 has been released. The blurry image shows a cylindrical object hovering before it was taken down in Canada's Yukon territory near the Alaskan border. Blah, blah, blah. North American Aerospace Defense Command first detected the high altitude airborne object at around 40,000 feet over Alaska. Jets were then dispatched to
Ooh,
observe
Alaska.
it. Yep. The object moved from Alaska into Canadian airspace before being shot down on February 11th, 2023. Ooh, this event followed. Oh, I remember this. This event followed the downing of a Chinese surveillance balloon. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And was one of 3 aerial objects shot down in that month.
You remember how China got upset that we shot down their surveillance balloon?
As it sat over our airspace for 3 days.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like
so stupid, man.
you guys are upset that we shot it down.
Yeah,
And bro,
really
like,
just, ugh.
you know that there's Chinese and North Korean soldiers fighting in Ukraine?
I would not doubt it one bit.
I mean, they have an option to go sign up and fight. And I watched a video about one Chinese soldier talking about how much he hates it and how he thought. I'm pretty sure he literally said he thought it was going to be like Call of Duty.
Nice.
Like he
Probably found
legitimately
out
was
that it's
like,
not.
no. And like of course, like let's just say if you join a foreign force, I wouldn't expect to be the top priority.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. It's I don't know, if you play Call of Duty and decide to join the military off that, don't be shocked if it's not like that.
Yeah, man. And I'm
Um,
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. If I was in the military right now, I mean, what I'm trying to say is if I was ever called to war, I wouldn't mind being called to war and going to war. I'm sure I'd mind, but I would be willing. But with this drone stuff, man, it adds such a whole new dynamic. It's very much like credit cards when they first came out, and then people figured out you could scam credit cards and how easily you could do it. And then the
y-
industry had to catch up to that to try to keep people from getting scammed, and they're always kind of behind the next biggest method.
yeah,
Mm, Yeah, in regards, and that's not sharing, but
it's not showing.
no,
Oh,
but it's very much like drones. We're now having to catch up to what drones can do and try to develop like some type of defense against them. But in reality, until that happens, people are just sitting in trenches hoping these things run out of batteries before they blow everyone up.
yeah. Is that coming through?
No,
I wonder why it worked and then all of a sudden it doesn't. But
I don't know.
I'm looking at a video that was posted 14 hours ago, actually. Um, Bunch of lights in the sky in San Antonio, and they're calling it drones. Drones over San Antonio now. I mean, what is happening? Sort of situation. Because there's been so many videos posted lately to where people are conveniently starting to call them drones now
Mhm.
rather than UFOs,
Social
UAPs. So it's
conditioning.
like, it's crazy. The social word engineering it just goes to show how powerful it is because
Yeah.
it's just like we're tossing out a previously used term and now we're just calling them drones. So like I don't know, it's interesting the sheeple thing from what you talked about earlier. I mean, the social conditioning aspect is it's strange, man. It is so interesting. So I'm curious to see going forward. I mean, are we going to totally get rid of not totally get rid of the UFO narrative, but are we just going to start calling them drones now or what?
That is a very, it's almost like they're trying to merge one thing with the other so they can extend the period of how long they have to hold it off that it is one thing versus another.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, now that we don't have a name for it, now that they're actually acting kind of crazy, drones, drones, that's what they are, is drones.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I believe you, mate.
I think it's a cover up. It's a straight up cover up. Oh
It's just
man,
straight
speaking
up
of
cover up, mate.
aircraft in general, saw in the news this morning that the Artemis mission that we're
Hmm.
going to the moon, they ended up delaying it.
Why?
Evidently, the Orion capsule, upon them testing it recently, there was a crack in the heat shield on reentry. So they are having to go back because they were just on, I think they finished like Artemis 2. Now they're on Artemis 3 with
Yeah.
the rocket and everything, and the Orion capsule was having issues. But what was weird, they said, "Yep, we're going to delay it, but we're going in 2026." I was like, "Isn't that when we were supposed to go in the first place?" Or unless they're delaying an unmanned mission, just sending the capsule there. I don't know. But either way, they're shooting for 2026 due to a supposed issue that popped up, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, that does suck. I mean, but I would rather them delay it and not kill six people
Agreed.
versus go and
Agreed.
do it. But dude, I think my parents were what year was it that the space shuttle blew up on reentry?
Oh, the
It was like 2004, right?
was it Odyssey or what was the name?
It was something like that, but I don't remember the actual
Challenger.
Challenger. What year was that?
That was no, 1986. I thought there was one in the early 2000s.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
This one is saying the Challenger disaster was the explosion of the U.S. Space Shuttle Challenger shortly after its launch from Cape Canaveral on January 28th, 1986.
Okay,
Dude is
what about any other ones?
blew up 2000. Let's see, 2000 Columbia 2003.
Hmm.
Saturday, February 1st, 2003.
Yep,
Space Shuttle Columbia disintegrated as it re-entered the atmosphere over Texas and Louisiana.
yep. I'm pretty sure my parents watched that one blow up.
I I think I remember that.
Yeah, maybe I'm
Man,
wrong, but I mean, a lot of people did, man, and that would just be something so not fun to
horrific.
see. That'd be horrific to see, man. That's rough.
Man, not to dive into it, but we do need to talk about it in the future on an episode, whether the moon landing was fake. I know we've alluded to it a little bit, but
Do you think it
I
was fake?
would see, I don't want to get into it because this would take us down a
Yeah, it's
crazy,
like,
crazy rabbit hole.
uh,
Previously, I would have been like, nah, no way. We definitely went to the moon. But I don't know. I'm kind of nearing the aspect of just being on the fence now. I don't know. I would still lean towards yes, we did, but at the same time, there are some interesting points people make that would point out to counteract it.
well, I will say that there was a high incentive to fake it. And I will say
Yes,
that there were things faked, in my opinion. But I do think that I don't know. It's weird I'm even saying that, but I guess I
that's
haven't
where
read it.
I'm at. Like you're kind of like, I don't know, versus before you'd have been like, heck yeah, we went to the moon. That's bull crap. You would ever say that we didn't, you know?
But I think one of the dumbest arguments against it though is people go, "Why haven't we ever been back?" It's like,
Yeah,
why would you need to go again? What's the
times have
strategic
changed. Yeah,
advantage?
exactly.
It was purely about nuclear warfare. That was the only reason the space race ever existed. And thank God
Yep.
it existed. I guess nuclear warfare has done something good for us. But, you know, in terms of it being a strategic advantage that you would want to constantly repeat, I just don't understand if we did make it there, what the incentive would be to go back, unless we
Yeah.
really started dedicating to build like on the moon, which we just did not have the technology to build anything sustainable on the moon at the time. I don't even think we have it now.
Yeah. What I think too, I mean, just now looking at Columbia and Challenger, we did go back to space multiple times, not necessarily the moon, but I think as time had gone on, we became less risk averse, or we became more risk averse, because it's just like back in the day, we're like at all costs. We had people and individuals that were willing to risk a lot to make something happen, that it didn't matter what, we just had to go. We had to beat Russia. We had to do all this stuff because tension was that much higher back in the day than it was, since then. So you have the motive behind it, but then also as time has gone on, there wasn't as much of an incentive, to your kind of point, and then there was more risk aversion in being like, why would we need to go back? We don't want to risk people's lives, for what? So we became, I don't want to say more comfortable with not challenging ourselves and
There was no
pushing things to
threat.
the limit. Well, that sense, yeah. But and two, anything that's government funded, you're not going to get anywhere. We didn't have privatized space companies, especially at the level we do now, in the last 60 some years. That's only taken off since the mid 2000s with
Yeah.
SpaceX. And look at where we're at now. So there's a lot of factors that go into play. But the one big hesitation I had when Joe Rogan was talking about it was passing through the radiation belt, that the amount of damage that that would do, and all that stuff to, I don't know, astronauts, to equipment, to the cameras that they took, supposedly were not hardened in any way. They were just cameras that they took up to the moon. So it's like, can a normal camera just work passing through a radiation belt and then working perfectly fine on the surface of the moon without being hardened, without having a crazy different shell, without being insulated, without all this stuff? That, I don't know, small details like that were just kind of raising some questions in my mind.
I do. Well, I guess I'm not a camera expert. I don't necessarily fully understand how film and everything works or how that film at the time worked, but it does seem that film in general depends less on electronics than you would think because it literally is capturing light and making that light, the picture of that light, an impression on something that can be impressionable. So there's light everywhere in the universe, and the only reason you see is because light is bouncing off of something and giving that reflection to your eye. What I'm trying to say is I think you could take materials to the moon and still build a camera without needing to be on Earth because it's literally just taking light and capturing it in a certain way. Now, are there electronics that could definitely be affected? I believe so. I'm not an expert on any of this, but just from an initial dumb person perspective, me being the dumb person, it seems as if cameras don't rely on electronics, especially cameras back then don't rely on electronics as much as, like a digital camera would today.
Right. But for a power source, like, I'm assuming what, battery, or how
Well,
would they
yeah,
have
if
gotten power?
they probably had to bring a battery, and did they say the batteries weren't insulated? Did they
And
say
that, I don't know. That I need to do more research on it,
look
but
at
I
us
remember,
going down the path we said we weren't going to go down.
I know, I really want to stop the conversation because this would turn into a very, very long discussion. But all that to say, it'd be fun to revisit it and look up some of the counterpoints and pro points
Yeah.
for the moon landing on a future episode, because there's some interesting ones out there.
Yeah,
Let
I'd be
alone,
down.
when the astronauts were holding the press conference, or at the press conference, they all looked like they had a gun to their head with their facial expressions, and they're just like stoic. It looked, or it seemed like it was the face of like individuals that if you don't say what we tell you to say, something will happen. Something will happen to your family, your kids, whatever. Not putting thoughts in, into your head or anything, but I don't know. There's some aspects I'd like to explore.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting topic. I wish we
Yeah.
could just end the conversation by showing some type of definitive proof, but I guess one
Yeah.
of the things I'd be interested in, and shouldn't the space capsule still be up there and findable?
I just, I mean, you'd think. But taking it a step further, my curiosity would be when SpaceX or the Artemis mission, those individuals go back to the moon or to the moon, whatever you want to call it, for the first time. The narrative of us planting the American flag on the surface of the moon, okay? That should be the targeted location for the landing in 2026 or whenever we end up going. Because think of the backing up and the justification. If we never landed on the moon in the first place and we land in the spot where that American flag was supposedly supposed to be, what would the American government say to that?
If what say it again, if the flag wasn't there,
Yeah, if we
plane
go,
blew it away.
yeah, yeah, that would honestly, I feel like there'd be a percentage of people that would be like, that makes sense.
It's a
But
space storm.
it's a geostorm from space. But like legit, I mean, what if? Ask yourself that question. Isn't that a crazy thought that if we go and we land in that same spot and the American flag isn't there, think of the
But hold on, time out,
backpedaling.
time out, time out, time out. They're never it, let's say the moon landing was fake. They're never going to release any footage until there is an American flag in that exact spot. So
But that's the crazy thing. Or like, would NASA sit there and be like, no, we are not going to that location. Don't go to that
no,
location.
they would go to the location, but the cameras would break, and then all of a sudden they'd come back on, and the flag would be right there.
It'd be, I don't know. There's just, I, I would be, I don't know. The only way to do it is to not do it with NASA
Yeah,
and not do it with any help of the US government. There needs, I mean, literal SpaceX astronauts, like make it
but
fully privatized because if there's anyone out there that would blow up a potential situation, it would be Elon.
the problem is that SpaceX actually can't operate without the government.
I know. So you're kind of screwed.
Yeah,
So
they
it's
have to
a,
get all
it's
these
a,
government contracts. Do you know that the Saturn V rocket, I think it was that was the one that took Apollo 11 to the moon. We still have not made a rocket more powerful or as powerful as that. Even the Falcon
with the
9.
heavy boosters.
Nope.
Really? I thought it was
No, it's almost on par with it, but even the most recent ones are not as powerful as that rocket was.
more powerful than Saturn V. Google knows what I want. It's saying yes, the SpaceX Starship rocket is considered more powerful than the Saturn V, with its super heavy booster producing significantly more thrust than the Saturn V's first stage, making it the most powerful rocket ever built currently.
Hold on. Then I was told misinformation, and I'm going to tell all you guys misinformation until I'm wrong.
It says Starship will be 3 times more powerful than the Saturn V rocket. Whoa,
Where are the
that's
Saturn
all
V
right.
rocket and hold on. The difference between the Saturn V rocket and the Falcon 9 is that the Saturn V uses a single-use, much larger rocket designed for heavy lift missions to the moon, while the Falcon 9 is partially reusable rocket designed for more frequent, smaller payload launches. Yeah, so hold on. Size. While the Saturn V could carry much heavier payloads designed specifically for lunar missions, the Falcon 9 is optimized for smaller payloads to lower Earth orbit. Um, the Saturn V was developed by NASA during the Apollo, while the Falcon is designed by SpaceX. Which is more powerful? Bristol.
For those that don't know who that is, that's Keegan's dog.
That's my dog. The Saturn V is considered significantly more powerful than the Falcon 9 rocket, as it was designed to lift much heavier payloads and has a higher overall thrust capacity, making it the most powerful operating rocket ever built until SpaceX's Starship surpassed it in terms of thrust potential, not capacity.
How much was the payload that it could carry, Saturn V?
Hold on.
Dang. The Block 1 version, while you're looking for that, Block 1 version of Starship's booster produces 16.5 million pounds of thrust.
Wow.
Holy cow. Weak.
The Saturn V's payload capacity is 152,000 pounds.
So it says Starship can carry, or it's also intended to be able to carry, once we get to its advanced stage, 100 to 150 tons of cargo.
Yeah.
So that's times 2,000. That's
Starship can deliver 150 tons to or low Earth orbit is a reusable configuration, potentially over 250 tons in an expendable mode. The Saturn V could launch about 130 tons into orbit. The Starship's boosters produce over twice the thrust of Saturn V's first stage Starship's 30. Yeah, the Starship's booster produces over twice the thrust of Saturn V's first stage Starship's 33 Raptor engines, generating more than 16 million pounds of thrust. Yeah. Either way, both of them are extremely powerful rockets. In terms of like pure engine wise alone, I think the Saturn V is technically bigger and a little bit more. If we're looking at pound for pound, the Saturn V is more powerful. But if we're looking at capabilities, the Falcon 9 is going to be the one that you'd want to go with.
well, and just think too, like this is an early version of the rocket. You know,
Yeah.
with the Raptors and the Falcon heavy booster.
Yeah.
What is it going to be once we actually go to Mars?
Worse.
It's going to be probably, yeah, probably less powerful.
They're
That's what
probably
you
going to
want.
downgrade it
I would. It makes sense to do that.
at the end of the day.
But yeah, space talk is always fun. I would heavily be interested in revisiting the moon landing if you're down.
Yeah, I'm very down. I'm so down, I'm not even up.
I'm picking up what you're putting down and I'm mowing what you're growing.
Oh, calm down there, sir. I wasn't ready for that. I was not ready for that.
Nice. Pretty
I always,
sick.
I always
But
make 2 cups of coffee, but I never finish them.
it's a shame. You gotta finish what you started.
No, you don't.
You can just quit. Be a
Quit,
quitter.
quit anything without finishing it. It's the way to go in life.
Oh, before I forget and before we wrap up, I do want to give a quick shout out. Couple quick shout outs. I was playing college football earlier with Grayson, my brother-in-law, and he wanted me to give him a shout out. So shout out Grayson. And the Spotify Wrapped stuff, you know how Spotify pulls all the analytics together for your end of year listens and all that. Well, they
Yeah.
did a podcast version, and all podcast content creators get some pretty cool analytics. And I know I sent it to you, but to just share the cool stuff with our audience, our video podcast was in the top 20% on Spotify for this year, which is really, really awesome. And honestly, it is all thanks to you guys, all of our listeners that have been tuning in, giving feedback, leaving comments, all that stuff. We definitely could not have gotten into the top 20% if it weren't for you guys. So thought we'd share that really cool stat with you, and just really could not be more appreciative.
We are extremely appreciative. It is awesome, but I also want to point out it is very funny at the same time because we have 29 followers and we have like an overall 300 or 400 plays among all of our episodes. And if we're in the top 20%, that means that the competition is probably not as stout as you think. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we're growing. Every
Yep.
listener's contributed and being in the top 20% regardless. When we saw that, we were like, that's really cool. But I also thought it was kind of funny.
And that it is, but at the same time, not many individuals, when they do podcasts, decide to do video. So, I mean, we were it was sitting there comparing our podcast as to, like everyone that listens to our podcast, what other podcasts our listeners listen to, and we are in the exact place that we need to be just regarding what our vision is. So it was putting us, into the realm of the Joe Rogans, and different things like that. So it tells us that we're definitely hitting a chord, and we're heading in the right trajectory. And I don't know, it's just really cool that, what we were envisioning this podcast to be is kind of the direction that it's actually going. So that's definitely really good feedback for us, and just for you guys as well.
Yeah.
It's been a cool process.
I say it in my little commercials I put on my Instagram. We're probably going to get famous by 15, 16, somewhere around there. So now's the time to get on this train. If you
Yes.
want to be on something that you can one day say to someone, I knew about them before they were big. I was a
Yep.
big fan before you were, before it was ever cool to be a big fan. Guess what? This is your chance. This is now. Take
It's
the
true.
opportunity. Don't let it slip by.
If you got one chance, one shot, one opportunity, once in a lifetime.
I know you're trying to do that. I was just staying
Yep.
silent just to mess with you.
Yep. Man, it'd be fun. I want to get some Thoughtify swag. I want to represent. I'd be curious if we decide, not if, when we decide to go down this road. I will post a poll because I know I'm good for that. Um, would you guys rep some Thoughtify swag? Um, Something to think about. We'll be brainstorming on the backside and planning stuff.
Who's the brand we went through? We can talk about this offline, but we need to make those sweatshirts again with the logo on it. That would be sick.
Yep. I still have all the contact info. All.
Let's actually do that like this week. And
Yeah.
also, we're really going to start trying to market this a lot better and really start trying to get this out there. So all like going back to what Chase was saying, you guys have helped out immensely. I mean, not helped out immensely. You guys are the reason that we have even continued creating episodes. If we didn't have interaction, then there would be no point to do it. And every comment that's left, we appreciate. Every follow, we appreciate. Just everything that you guys do to interact is a really big deal to us. So we want to let you know that you are definitely on the forefront of our minds and trying to make this as good of a podcast as we can for y'all. So we are going to sell it as soon as it gets big.
Yes. And it'll change so much that you guys won't even recognize the podcast anymore, and you'll probably unsubscribe.
Good times, good times, good
Yeah.
times.
But, well, awesome. That's probably a good place to put a pin in it for this week. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you had, again, an awesome Thanksgiving with friends and family and just had some good downtime. And we definitely look forward to catching you guys on next week's episode.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back with some more hot fire and some good stuff next week. And love all of you. And yeah, good morning. It's actually not nighttime this time.
Yeah, it's a good morning on a Saturday. We got some rain coming in.
Whoop, whoop.
It's a little chilly outside.
Chase has got a Christmas party tonight. Oh,
Gotta
geez.
careful. All of our listeners might get jealous if they weren't all invited.
I told you guys, start listening now because if you want to be on the
Yep.
invite list for next year,
Yep.
you're
There
gonna need
might be
that.
a full on Thoughtify Christmas party. Who
Oh,
knows?
Thoughtify fan meetup, all 26.
Hey, 29.
Hey,
We
hey, split that
appreciate the
number.
extra 3 on top of the 26. We
Yes,
didn't forget about you. But
never will.
awesome. All righty, guys. Have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll catch you on next week's episode.
See you guys.